I'm Dolly Curtis, and I'm on the Connecticut River in Essex with Ned Libby, who is a tugboat captain, and he's the captain of Creole Miss, right, Ned?
Yes. Yep.
And I've had the pleasure of doing this before with Ned and promised I'd come back with Victor Cromwell, my cameraman, and we'd take a ride and tell you a little bit about tugboats. So here we are. Thank you, Ned, for taking this time.
You're welcome. Glad to have you aboard today.
So you were pretty busy today.
Yes, very busy today.
What were you all doing there?
We're moving stone into a job in Middle Cove in Essex for a repairing a bulkhead, and then we pulled the old wood out, and now we're putting riprap back in its place.
But you told me that was an easy day for you, just doing that.
Well, it's been a long day. We've been busy, and
what's a day like on the water? I mean, do you start early? I mean, I don't, so I'm wondering what your day's like.
Well, this morning we had to make arrangements to get more stone delivered to the Essex steamboat dock so that we could pick it up with the barge. And so I had to go make arrangements with the trucker, which my day started about 6:45,
Okay.
and I had to keep the trucker happy, which involved getting his pump going because he was digging sand for another job. So I got his pump going, and then we made the arrangements, and then around 8:30 he showed up with the first load, and then we went over to the job in Middle Cove and finished unloading the boat and preparing the boat to come back to the steamboat dock to load the boat
So
with.
this was all on that barge that I saw you on earlier.
Yes, yeah.
And the tug, she was just tied up.
Yep, the barge has its own power, and we can get along without the tug. The tug is used for long hauls and also for rides on the river when you got a nice day like today.
So most days the tug doesn't work with you. Most days are you working on the barge?
Yes, yeah.
Now, I knew you were down in Darien for a while this summer, and I also understand you're in Stamford sometimes, and sometimes you're in Branford.
Yep,
So this is not just Essex area that you do your work.
No, we work anywhere from Plymouth, Massachusetts.
No, really, you do? And
Yeah.
do you have to have a license to do that when you go out of the state? Does that
yes,
get hard?
Yeah,
Harder?
yeah. Some license, you have to have a crane operator's license and captain's license on the tugboat.
Now, I'm just trying to think, when that barge, does that barge go down to Darien with you? When you took the tug down, because you told me you were living on the tug
Yep.
during the week.
We took the barge with us. and that's what we use to.
So do you pull it?
Excuse me?
Do you pull the barge?
Yes.
Oh, the
Yes,
tug
we do.
pulls it down.
Yep. And it took us 14 hours from Essex to Darien.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
It's a long ways, and we only go about 3 to 4 miles an hour.
Now, I know right now we're going slowly. That's because we're trying to keep the noise level down so we can talk over it.
Yeah. But when you're towing, well, actually I towed 2 barges. I towed this one, and there's another one right over there that I towed with it with all the material to do the job.
So
in
it's very
Darien.
expensive then to move a barge down to Darien, because if you're going to spend 14 hours of time plus fuel,
Yep. Very
can
expensive.
you fuel it one time and go all the way, or no, you have to stop and fuel or
Oh, no. We can carry enough fuel to run the boat for quite a while.
So now you went down to Darien. I was trying to think what you were doing down there. I mean, what type of jobs or what kind of things do you do with the barge and the tug?
The main type of work we do is drive piling. We're in a pile driving business. The Darien job was
Now that's for what? You have to excuse my ignorance, but when you drive pile, you're doing it for docks?
to build docks.
Docks.
Also, we drive piling to hold floats. And
For bridges? Oh, no, not for bridges, right? That would be,
yes, they do
They
use
do?
piling. When you build a bridge, you drive foundation piling, and the bridge actually sets on piling, and then they go from piling to concrete and work their way up.
I see. So that's where they use the tug and the barge, or
Yep. Well,
I mean, it's a real working boat.
yes, the tug is mainly just to get the barge from point A to point B.
I see. They go in tandem then.
Then once you get there, the tug is off to the side. In our case, we use the tug to live on, and we
So the tug is doing the pushing and pulling.
yeah.
And the transporting, but once you get there, all the work's done. I never realized that. So in New York City, when you see those tugs, they're taking the boats in and out. Don't they help bring the big boats in and out?
Yes, yeah. But they also move all kinds of barges. They move oil barges around New York City. They move the garbage scows in New York City.
Really?
They help the cruise ships dock and undock.
Now, why do they use the tugboats to do that? Can these barges not maneuver themselves around, or they don't have power? They have power, don't they, to move around?
No, most barges do not have power.
Oh.
My barge has power, but it's not good enough to move from Essex to Darien, so that's why you use the tug. Once we get to Darien, we can take and move around under our own power with the barge, so that lets the tug sit and rest if you would have it.
So you spent your whole summer pretty much, at least I know August, down in Darien, Stamford area.
Yes, yeah.
And you work out private? Was it private?
The private
So
job.
you do private? Do you just do private jobs, or is it all different kind of
No, we
things?
work in a lot of different marinas, and we do all kinds of private work. We're all over the place.
You know, Ned, I really was wondering about it, but are there a lot of tugboats in Connecticut? I mean, I would never know. I thought it was such a delight to meet you and to find out about the Creole Miss. I mean, is it just a few?
Oh, no, there's quite a few. Yeah,
What's quite a few, though? 50? Are you talking about 10?
I wouldn't venture. I wouldn't know how many there is. I wouldn't. I couldn't give.
So it's not a question of just a few.
No, there's a lot of them around.
And you mean a lot of working tugboats?
A lot of working tugboats. I know of a half a dozen in New London Harbor, and there's.
And New Haven has a big harbor.
New Haven has a big harbor with a bunch of them in it.
How about Bridgeport? They have a big harbor, but it hasn't been used as much.
I think that most of the time the tugs from New Haven go down and help the boats dock in Bridgeport, and that's.
Do you ever get called on situations where they need you, an emergency or a help, or is it mostly all work where you know, planned ahead? You said you're real busy right now. People have to wait until they can get your the tug and the barge free. But do you ever get called out to help with things that?
No,
that's not
no.
that kind of
This tug is basically just for my own use, and very seldom have I. One time, a good-sized boat broke down in Long Island Sound. And one of the towboat companies, the small rescue like Sea Tow and Boat US, they were trying to tow it in, and the river was in freshet, and they couldn't tow it in, so they called me, and it was a 70-foot burger or something like that, and I had to go down and tow it in for them.
Well, have you been at this a long time? You look like you've been on the water a while, but I mean, you've been at this tugboat piling work for a while?
Well,
Or is it fairly new? I know you told me
35 years or
you've
so.
been at it a while.
Yep.
But you told me you only own the tug since 1986.
This is the second tug I own. I owned another one for about 7 or 8 years too.
So it's almost 20 years that you've been.
Yeah.
Well, how does anyone get started on a tugboat? I mean, I could say I love tugboats. Ever since I was a kid, I thought they're the real workhorses of the water. I love them.
I
Was it in your family?
love them myself,
Oh.
and any spare minute that I had and could get away, I would spend on a friend of mine who had a business, and I would spend it on their tugboat. So during the summer when school wasn't going, or if we had school vacation, or if they were working on a Saturday, I was on their tugboat.
Okay, so this is all Connecticut? All this was happening or somewhere else?
This was all happening in the Connecticut River here.
When you grew up?
Yeah.
So this has been something in your heart then a whole long time?
Yes. I've been doing this, like I say, for just about ever.
You know, I have to tell everybody how I met Ned. I always wanted to be on a tugboat because, I don't know, I just think that they're unique boats. They're real workers and not real, well, I think they're pretty.
Yeah. I don't know whether you can get a shot of it, but I own that house with another guy on that island right there.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. And that was left to us by a real good friend.
So as you're going up and down the Connecticut River, you get to know a lot of people, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm pretty well known.
I
up
was
and
going to
down the
ask you,
river.
are you pretty well known?
Yeah, some people I'm liked and known, and I'm sure I'm sweared at by some other people.
So you're
but-
known more than you want to be known,
Yes,
in other words.
In some places I am, in other places probably not enough.
That's a real pretty house, though.
Yes.
So is it the recent house? I mean, it looks really
Yes.
pretty and new.
We tore the old house down and built this brand new house.
So are you planning to retire now and not run the tug in a couple of years and just live on that island?
No, that's for weekends, and we spent most of the summer up there this last
Oh, how
past
nice.
summer.
I know you have a pretty good-sized family because I remember hearing about that one time.
We find the island very enjoyable.
So now what is that island? I mean, I know
That-
we're on the Connecticut River. I thought we'd tell everybody a little bit about it, where we are.
We are opposite the mouth of Hamburg Cove right now, and the island is Brockway Island.
Rockaway?
Yes.
And is it just the only island here, or are there others? I mean, it's beautiful.
There are other islands. Up the river about 2 miles is what they call Selden's Island, which is a lot bigger island. It's much, much bigger than that.
Are you going to be the only house on this island?
We're the only house on this
Oh,
island.
how nice.
In fact, I think that we are the only house on an island existing in the Connecticut River. I do not know of another
Really?
one. Yeah.
Why is that when you're saying that there's other places? Because all the houses along the shore, and it's
Yeah, they're along the
accessibility to
Yeah.
get to the island? And you really pull this tugboat up to your house on the island?
Yeah.
Or it's deep
yeah,
enough?
Yeah.
Because I
Very-
realize we must be drawing quite a bit of water here with a boat this size, and it's narrow where we are.
Well, it's very deep,
That's what I'm thinking.
and it's deep from one side of the river to the other right here.
So you can moor a tugboat on that little island?
Well, no,
You don't
we
have
don't.
to take small boats off of it?
No, we can come up there, but we don't. The boat traffic in the summertime, there's so many boats going by, and the waves are so big. We don't bring the tugboat up there during the
It's
summer.
only early September now, and it's very quiet today
Oh
on
yeah,
the river.
this is the best time of the year.
It's the early fall.
Early fall. A lot of people have gone home, and the people who live here get to really enjoy the river.
I see, because in the summertime you're saying you have that much recreational use of the river?
Yes, it's just full of boats.
Well, who does take care that it doesn't have any problems? Is it all policed by Marine?
It's policed by the Connecticut DEP, and they're up the river here in Chester this summer. A powerboat went by a canoe real close, and it capsized the people and put them into the water. The speed of some of the powerboats is kind of a problem in the river.
Oh, the same thing as on the land, huh?
Yeah, it's just not. It's no different than people driving cars. You get people who are considerate of other people, and other people who just.
So you don't have a river police, so you don't have
They have a river police. Yes, Essex has a boat that's out patrolling, but they're not out all the time. now and then they're,
But when you say there's that much recreational use of the Connecticut River, I wonder how they keep it under control, the whole situation.
Well-
You have people who have very little experience out on the water.
well, that's the problem. There is, a lot of people have no experience and they don't know what they're doing, so,
And then the weather can change just like that. Like
Yeah.
it did this afternoon, started so gray, and now it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And of course, it can get a lot worse than a lovely day like today. How far does this river go? I saw a map before I left, and it seems like the Connecticut River extends a very long distance into the country.
well, it goes
More than I realized.
to Canada, actually. It starts up there. And, but you can take, this tug could go from Essex to Hartford on the river. There's enough water all the way.
And steep enough.
After Hartford, you need a canoe.
Oh, big difference then, huh?
Or a boat that does not draw much water.
So I wonder if it was an inland water route for the Indians then, when the people who were living here in this continent. I mean, it must have been a highly used for transport, east to west.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Berlin Railroad Bridge, this is Defiance, over.
Turn the volume down here a little bit. Just about 2 weeks ago, we were having a rainstorm or something, the wind was blowing, and I came up to check the island in my boat, and I saw two men in kayaks who had started from Brattleboro, Vermont, and had paddled all the way down the river. And they were sitting, I have a float on the other side of the island, and they were sitting there resting. And so I got chatting with them, and they asked me where they could go to spend the night and get a shower and get warm and dry. So they came down to where I keep the tug at the Chanderley at Essex, and they got a room at the Grizz and spent the night at the Grizz.
Oh, how lucky for them.
Yeah, and the next morning I saw them, and they were just tickled pink. They had a great time. There was a good band at the Grizz
Well,
that
they
night.
were just fortunate that
No.
met you on that stormy night.
Oh,
So we should tell everybody you're talking about the Griswold Inn, which
Yes.
is sort of the high point of Essex, a little downtown.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a beautiful place to eat dinner. I know they have lovely music.
Oh, yeah. It's a super place.
I didn't realize people staying overnight, though. They have lodging,
Yes, they do. They have. I don't know. I'm guessing
small.
12 to 15 rooms, and usually, pretty soon they're pretty well booked up in advance. You get a lot of people that come spend a weekend in Essex. It makes a big. If it's a nice weekend, we'll have a lot of people around. Of course, like anything else, if it's raining, there won't be many people around.
I saw those beautiful little shops and everything, so I figured there's a lot of people that come for the weekend, just come for a day or two. But that doesn't affect your life too much because you're out here on the water doing all this work, or you come to this island to get away from it all.
That's right. This is the best time of year to come to the island. It's nice and quiet. But I'm going to be missing that because we're starting to build a brand new house.
Another one?
Yeah.
Where's that going to be?
Well, at home in Deep River. And we're going to build a brand new house. And it's going to be taking all my spare time. So there won't be any spare time this fall for the island.
So you'll either be just doing the work on with the pilings and the bulkheads.
Yep. And then when I have any time, we'll be building the new house.
Boy, you're going to be quite a property owner.
Well, I already own the property. I bought the property quite a while ago, and we own the house in front of it. What we're doing is selling the house in front to
I see.
build the house.
Yourself. Well, 35 years on the river. You said it's even longer than that because you were on the river as a youngster
Yeah.
with the other person's tugboat every
Yep.
time you could.
Yep.
So you've been on the Connecticut River for about half a century. I don't want to make you seem that old, but it seems.
All bird.
Now look at the size of this boat coming up.
Yep.
So some real sizable boats use this.
Oh yes. Yeah. Some very nice boats too. I mean,
Really?
We got very nice yachts that go up and down the river.
I saw the marina was quite beautiful. You called it the Chanley.
The Chanderley.
Chanderley.
Yes.
In Essex, where this is docked all the time.
That's where the Creole Miss lives.
You know, when I heard you were down in Darien, everybody wondered if you were working for that big New York City concern, if they had brought you down for that. The Morans, I understand that people who own the tugboats in New York City, they live in Darien.
Yeah. No, I had nothing to do with those people at all.
To do with that.
No, this was a repair job that was caused by a storm last October.
Yeah, we have enough of those.
Yeah.
And even our little lighthouse, the Sheffield Island Lighthouse, is in bad need of help too from the storm that happened last fall.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're aware of it.
Yes. Yeah.
So you probably see it.
Yeah.
Now look at the wake we just went through just there.
Yep.
I'm surprised. Such a good size. Now the camera's going to be bobbling around. Well, it took me a few years to come here and get a chance to spend this day. I know it's not easy to talk to me and to do this at one time.
Well, no, it's not. We're not going fast enough so that we have to worry about it. We're just...
How many people can you sleep on this tugboat? When you say when you go down to our area, you stay overnight because it's a lot easier than any other accommodation. You bring 3-4 people?
No, we
workers?
work with 3.
3 people
Yeah.
worked with you?
No, myself and 2 others. And a lot of times it's just myself and 1 other.
And you eat on the tug, or
No.
you go, it's too hard to do all?
Too much work. No one feels like doing dishes. No one feels like cooking. So...
Yeah,
well,
especially if you're on a limited time like that. You're going to work from 6, 7 in the morning till...
we try to work 12-hour days.
Really?
So we can get the job done and get home again. And so what we do is we have breakfast on the boat, lunch on the boat, then we go out for dinner at night.
So then you're out hanging out in our restaurants down there in Lower Fairfield County.
No, we don't hang out. We go and have dinner and we're back to the boat and go to bed.
That's it, huh?
If you work 10 or 12 hours
Your body tells
and our
you.
kind of work, and when you get to be my age, you're ready to go to sleep at 9 o'clock.
Especially because you're out in the sun, you're out in the air,
Yep.
and the temperature change and all. So you put in a 12-hour day, and then you go just have something to eat, relax yourself, and get ready for the next day's work.
Yeah.
It's just fun to think that you are down, and I did try to catch up with you, but wasn't so lucky.
No. Well, that was kind of... The dock is a real high dock off the water.
He really didn't want me to come, folks. He tried to tell me not to come because he was afraid I was going to fall in the water on the dock.
Well, it's the dock is like 15 feet off the water, so it's not a good spot. And there wasn't decked or anything. You had to walk out on 12-inch pieces of wood.
Oh, so you were afraid.
It wouldn't have been a good spot.
Well, it's real pretty coming to Essex, and we had a chance to see another town, and we're going to show our audience a beautiful little place to come visit. We're going to try and show everybody a little town that they can get to in an hour.
Yeah.
By car, easily.
Easily.
And then they can see the beautiful boats and have a nice meal at the Grizz, as you called it,
Yeah.
and look around. So how do you get educated to become a tugboat captain, Ned?
Well, I think it's a case of starting at the bottom and working up. There's no 4-year school, really, for tugboat captain. This is something that it's an on-hands learning. You start as a deckhand, you work your way up into the wheelhouse, and it's experience when you know what you're doing.
Do you have to put in like so many hours of on-the-water time and then
Yes.
go through testing?
Yes,
I thought you do.
You do have to have a Coast Guard license to be a tugboat captain. You have to have a tugboat captain's license.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're not going to university and get a bachelor of tugboat license.
No. This is, you can get the test, you can study, and then you go to New York or Boston and you take the test.
Oh, you take the exam.
Yes, the Coast Guard gives the exam.
Is it like an architecture exam? It goes on for a day, 2, 3, or 4, or is it
No,
not
it's
that
a 4 or 5 hour exam.
And now you get a license, and then you have to pay a permit, probably a fee or something, and you have a license, registration, that whole thing, like a
No, that's you got just a license that you get from the Coast Guard, and then the tugboat is documented with the federal government. And this particular boat happens to be registered with the state of Connecticut, and you pay a fee just like any other boat each year.
Well, tell me about this boat. Is this boat old? I mean, I don't know how one knows how to date these tugboats.
Well, this boat was built in 1965, and it was built in Houma, Louisiana. It was built by the Maine Iron Works in Louisiana. And it worked in the oil fields down there for years. And then when the oil business went to pot there for a while, it was sold. And, oh boy, a guy in Knoxville, Tennessee bought the boat. And that's where I bought the boat. I bought the boat in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then we brought it from Knoxville, Tennessee down the Tom Bigby Waterway and across the Gulf to Lake Okeechobee, crossed Lake Okeechobee, and then came up the Inland Waterway and brought it to Essex.
So in other words, not only do you have to buy it, but you have to figure out how to get it, where you're going to be bringing it to.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Moving it.
Like a 40-day trip to get the boat home.
Because it can only go a couple miles an hour? Is that
Well,
why?
it only goes about 8 miles an hour, and I forgot the exact mileage, but we went a lot of miles. We went from Louisiana to New York, and I'm wrong, from Louisiana to Florida, and then from Florida to New York, and New York to Connecticut, and it's a long ways.
Well, it's a challenge buying a tugboat, because you not only have to spend your whole life learning how to do it, how to operate it, as you say, you work your way up, but you also, when you buy a tugboat. Now, are they still making tugboats?
Oh yes, they're made every day.
Where they make them? Where?
Well, they're made down south. They're made. I think they're still making them. There's a couple places in Maine that build them. A lot of boats are built down south. The labor isn't as high as in the south as it is.
So
up
does a
here.
tugboat cost $500,000? I'm just curious to think a tugboat. Well, it must have a tremendous value because it's a work boat, so it's a boat that people make income.
$500,000 won't get you much of a tugboat.
No kidding.
No.
So you get a bank loan for a tugboat?
Yeah.
Boy, they must see you coming.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be awful. So it
Yeah.
takes a whole lifetime to pay for a tugboat then?
Well, it all depends what the tugboat's doing. I mean, if the tugboat is busy and making good money, it probably pays it off fast. I certainly didn't pay that kind of money for this boat.
So you buy them used, in other words, you buy them used.
Yeah. And then once you get them, it's just like any other boat. It's just something you keep pouring money into and trying to keep it looking good and maintain it.
Who does the maintenance on the Creole Miss?
Well, we do a lot of the painting ourselves, and then we have it hauled out and we paint the bottom ourselves, and then we have an engine mechanic come if we need engine work done.
So what months of the year then are the maintenance months of the year? Is it in the winter? Do you do most of the work then from March through November?
No, we work year round.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it
and-
ice up in the Connecticut River?
Yes, yeah. If it gets real icy, we don't go out in the ice.
Well, what months are the maintenance months then for the tugboat industry?
When
Ever work that's not happening?
when we don't have anything else to do, we'll work on the tugboat. And if we got other work, tugboat gets neglected until we don't have anything else to do.
Oh, what about engines? What powers these things?
Well, this has a Detroit 871 in it. This does not have a lot of power. It has like 350 horsepower.
So it's a diesel engine,
It's
though,
a
right?
Yes, it is a diesel engine.
It's a costly thing to go out for a little toll on the water.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't burn a lot of fuel. It only burns like 8 gallons an hour, and so you're not really burning a tremendous amount.
So it isn't a real expensive thing
No.
like people who have recreational boats.
No.
They're always saying.
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
some more of your friends around
Yeah.
here, everybody? People don't call you Ned Libby, though. They call you something else around here.
Yeah, that was the guy that was John Plum, and John is engine mechanic that does repair work. In fact, he does repair work on the boat for me now and
The
then. when
person
I-
that just went whizzing by? in the
whizzing by
water?
and was calling me Shorty.
Shorty, and
Yeah.
I've heard that word myself, directed my way. You were telling me before, I thought we'd tell everybody that the island that you called Brockaway?
No, Brockway Island.
Brockway Island,
Yeah.
where you've built this house. You said when you were a youngster, you used to go there and go swimming. You used to go instead of going to school.
We would skip school and swim across the river and spend the day with the gentleman who owned the island.
And that was another house that's since been demolished. And then you
Yeah.
told me he would bring you home and get
He-
you home in time
he would-
dry so no one would know.
No one would know. But I seem to get caught quite often at skipping school. So,
You weren't too good at it?
no.
There's some of your fans, I think, down here
There goes
watching.
John Plum again.
Watching you. Well, it's just been a glorious afternoon, and I know for someone who's captain of a tugboat, talking on a microphone isn't their easiest thing to do, but you've done beautifully, letting everyone have a little glimpse into what it's like to be a tugboat operator.
I'm glad. It's nice to have you aboard today.
And I'm coming again, because 3 years ago I spent a half a day with you, and I loved it then, I loved it today.
Oh, good. Glad to have you.
Ned, thanks so much. Ned Libby on the Connecticut River in Essex, on the Creole Miss, the beautiful tugboat that's docked up here in Essex. Thank you so much, Ned.
You're welcome.